Last time on Let's Play Mega Man X4 in the X playthrough. Or I guess, you could play the Mega Man 8 route and just hire a bunch of random nobodies off the street. I guess that works too. Nothing? You're not gonna shoot me or anything? Okay, just asking. Don't mind me, I'm just trying to rob a bank. Oh boy, it's gotta be one of those stories. Doesn't that make Repliforce the top secret, no good Christian shaman Buddhist cult couple of South Korea bent on instilling a crypto-fascist dictatorial system of the man upon the South Korean people? X has a new enemy. Communism! And now the continuation. It's time to use some force in the air, so I guess that means we're heading to the Air Force? That's the name of the stage, and this, however, is the Mississippi King welcoming y'all back to more Let's Play Mega Man X4 in the X playthrough. And in the last episode, we cleared the intro stage and beat Web Spider, but that was basically it. However, in this episode, we're going to defeat a few more Mavericks, starting of course with Storm Owl, and we're also going to take out Cyber Peacock and Slash Beast later on. Right off the bat, we're introduced to a new ride armor that doesn't return in any of the future X games on the PlayStation. This one actually can dash in the air, it can hover for a bit, actually as long as you want, it can hover. It fires shots, and if you hold down the shot button, then you can fire 3 homing shots. So it's pretty cool. It's probably my favorite of the ride armors, but it's still not super useful. We're here in Storm Owl's stage, which is another great one, and in Area 2, we're introduced to 2 Dark-Light capsules this time. In this stage, in Area 2, they give you the option to choose between 2 different ones. However, it's a little tricky to get to it. However, the good news is that although it's surrounded with a bunch of insta-kill spikes, it's very convenient to get to them, because if you get a game over, you just restart back at Area 2, which isn't that far away from the capsules. This stage, by the way, has some fantastic music. It's another one of my favorite tracks in this game. And right here, it's kind of a pixel-perfect jump. It's almost pixel-perfect, but I'm actually amazed I got that on the first try. You can charge up to 4 blasts at a time with this arm module. It takes a while to charge, but it can fire a charged shot at any time you wish with it. This arm module is also changeable. Enter this capsule to change parts. So, this is the first one, and since they allow you to change it, I'm not going to, show off any extra footage for this, so I can show off both at the same time, in the same footage. So, as you can see, you can fire 4 blasts. They're not very powerful though, and you can also charge special weapons with either. So that's not the one I'm going to go with. I don't really care for this that much. I feel like they kind of meant you to get the other one, since it shows up in the next game. With this arm part, you can fire the plasma shot, which is effective against stronger enemies. If the shot hits the opponent, plasma is generated, which will cause additional damage to the enemy. This arm module is changeable. Enter this capsule to change parts. So this is the one I prefer strongly. It's really powerful, and it's great for doing residual damage. Of course, since, as I've said, I'm going to be sticking with the plasma shot, because it's just something that I generally prefer. It's much better than the other one, I find. However, the other one isn't bad. It can be useful, but I almost never go with it, so it's not really that great, I find. So anyway, I suppose I should talk about the fight with Storm Owl as Mega Man X. It's actually pretty easy, I find, compared to, like, the fight with Storm Owl as Zero. Because, like, you can attack him from a distance much easier. The fight goes by fairly easily, I find. It's not that hard to fight him without his weakness. However, being the Grand Master I'm going to try and, like, do this with no upgrades or with only one heart tank. It's actually quite a piece of cake. But basically he comes at you from the top and from the bottom. You can use the upper platform, which is more useful as a Zero, since, like, one of his abilities allows him to do a double jump, so he can access that more easily. However, as X, it's quite easy. His Japanese name, by the way, is Storm Fukurol? It's pronounced as a Storm Fukurol for some reason. It's weird. I think it's like a pun on the English word for owl and the Japanese word for owl, and it's like, that doesn't make any sense. It's just weird. That'd be like calling someone Bu'o Owl. It's like weird and kind of redundant. Anyway, he's done for, of course. That wasn't much of a fight at all, actually. And he gives us the double cyclone, which is a decent weapon. It's not really my favorite in the game. The problem is that it just doesn't seem to work on enough enemies. That is, like, one thing that bothers me about a number of weapons in this series. Like, often they just don't work on enough enemies to be useful, but this one's kind of alright. It's called the Double Cyclone, which reminds me of a certain character in this game. Heh heh. Personally, it's not as bad, I find, as the next one we're getting, because we're heading into Cyber Peacock's stage, which is called Cyber Space. Yes, it's spelled as 2 words for some reason. I don't know, that's kind of dumb. I think it's supposed to be 1 word. But, in any case, here we are in cyber space, and, this stage is actually really unique, because you actually have to race against the clock in order to get the collectibles in this stage. So, it's actually pretty fun racing through it, and seeing what routes you can pick to get through it quickly. And there are some fun moments in this stage. Your goal is to get an S rank. If you, like, go too slow, then you'll end up getting an A rank, which doesn't get you the rewards that you're looking for, so you may want to try and speed up as much as possible. It's a race against the clock, folks. You ain't got time to dilly-dally, and the main reason I'm here is so that I can pick up the head part, which is amazing. It's the best head part in the entire X series, by far. It almost breaks the game. One has to wonder, like, whether that's just, like, a leftover debug tool or something. Actually, I don't really think it is, but it's still, like, really good. And it looks like I'll have to backtrack here in order to get it, so that sucks. Yeah, the second part of cyberspace isn't that great. I don't enjoy it as much as the first part. Having said all that, Area 2 is still neat with the alternating gravity gimmick. I just wish they did more with that. Here it's not really used to especially great effect. You just sort of like switch gravity at specific points, and mostly like you're not really putting any thought into it or whatnot. So here we are already at Cyber Peacock, and his Japanese name, because that's probably become a meme at this point, is Cyber Kujacker. Cyber Kujacker, but like the narrator pronounces it as Cyber Kujacker for some reason. I have no idea what a Kujacker is. Is that like some sort of hacker? It's supposed to be hacker? I don't know. So Cyber Peacock is saying his potential is limitless, which means he has... Anyway, back to the fight. And I died, right there. So, let's give this a second shot. He has, his weapon, of course, is the aiming laser, which, isn't really that good. It's kind of too cumbersome to use. I want to like it. I really do. But, like, it's just not really that good. Now, I'm one of the few people who actually really enjoys this game's set of weapons. However, like, some of them just aren't really that good. I really like a lot of this game's weapons, but, like, I'ma be real, some of them, like the aiming laser, just aren't really very useful. And, this game actually has some great weapons. I think the Twin Slasher is really great, as is the Rising Fire, and Soul Body is pretty neat, but like, it just so happens that the weapons we've got so far aren't really all that useful. So this was a very fun fight. It's a very enjoyable fight. Even though I almost died from it right there, as you can see, since I'm the Armand White of video game difficulty. So we got the aiming laser, which is kind of cumbersome to use. You aim it up and down with the directional buttons. So, I beat that stage. Now, it's time to give this stage a second try. And, here we are, folks. Back in Cyber Peacock's stage. And, this is what happens, when you get an A rank. You're just sent directly to the next, part of the stage, without any intervening parts. Right here, you'll want to, like, move as quickly as possible. See, this is what I'm talking about. This is a skill right here. See, usually I can beat this part fairly easily. This would be easier with Soul Body, but I haven't got that, so I have to rely on brute force. Now, it's time to get the Dr. Light capsule and see what that's all about.
I'm giving you a new head module, X. This module will improve your special weapons abilities. It should reduce your special weapon energy requirements to near zero. You may now use your special weapons as often as you want.
So in other words, this here head part gives you so you can use your special weapons as often as you want. You have infinite usage for them. Now, if you charge up your special weapons, that still counts as using them. That does deplete your weapon energy still. But, like, mostly the uncharged variants tend to be the most useful. So, like, this is insanely good. And, this is also why I've gotten accustomed to using the weapons and have grown quite fond of this game's set of weapons. And, we've got some good ones to come in this video, at least, well, we have the Twin Slasher to come in this video, and that's really good as well. So we're finally done with cyberspace. Cause I'm not gonna stop making fun of them typos. What am I saying? This game's hardly the worst offender in the series. It is definitely not as bad as Mega Man X6. Mega Man X6 is just a train wreck.
You may fire when ready.
And its translation quality, well, clearly the people in charge must have been very fond of the game Zero-wing because they hired their translators to do the work for them. That's actually not true. It's fake news. I don't think that's really the case, but it may as well be with how terrible the localization is. And there's no shortage of typos in that game. It is just horrible. It's difficult to read at the best of times. Let's stop talking about Mega Man X6. That game will be getting its proper comeuppance soon enough. I'm not exactly eager to subject myself to that crap, but I am somewhat eager to start on the LP itself because I want that to be the most comprehensive destruction of X6 on the internet, because that's how much I don't like that game. Let's talk about something positive for once. The controls in this game, I mean, I've kind of hinted at this before, they are the best in the X series. Because, like, it feels like the characters just control so smoothly. It's like everything just sort of flows together naturally, like it controls like a dream. That's basically what I'm trying to get at. And while X5 has a few hiccups in the control department, this game has no such problems. That said, like, X5 still has some good controls, it's just, I don't know, they just feel a little less reliable than this game's controls. They're fantastic. They're not as bad as Mega Man X6's controls, oh dear, I'm going back to that. And they're definitely nowhere near as bad as X7's controls. Oh my, what have they done to the controls in X7? That's just horrendous what happens in that game, but don't worry, that game too will be getting its proper comeuppance, because I intend for that to be the most comprehensive destruction of X7 on the internet as well. But nevertheless, let's actually get back to talking about the game. This stage is really great, because even though it's just a simple side-scroller and it's not really the most challenging stage in the world, and the platforming isn't the best. It's got a whole lot of cool spectacle and explosions. It's like everything is happening all at once, and it is glorious. You're just shredding through a gauntlet of enemies and surviving the onslaught of attacks. And plus, like, the second area gives you a ride armor, which allows you to just tear through everything in sight. It's just a great spectacle. Military Train is definitely one of the better stages in this game, and this is the series at its height. This is one of the things that I really like about the series when it's good. It's got a whole lot of cool spectacle. It also has some fantastic music. Like, this is what I'm talking about when I say this game has my favorite soundtrack in the X series. It's just so incredible, and this is one of my favorite tracks from this game. So, yeah, it's pretty good if you ask me. But, yeah, one thing with the ride armor is you can actually destroy parts of the train. It doesn't actually cause much. Like, you can destroy the carts, and, it does basically nothing. It's just for spectacle, but this is kind of what I mean about this stage having a lot of spectacle. The double cyclone can be useful for taking out enemies above and to your side. We'll be getting another weapon that will be great for taking out enemies directly above you. And yeah, now we're on to a new part of this stage. This stage is pretty simple, to be clear, but I find it enjoyable nonetheless. Anyway, now it's time to get into the fight with Slash Beast, and his Japanese name is Slash Beast Leo, but for some reason they pronounce it as Slash Bestlio? That makes absolutely no sense. I have no idea what's up with that. But that's just what they go with, so it's time for the fight with Slash Beast as X. Now this is a pretty enjoyable fight if you ask me.
Challenging my unit was both foolish and reckless. You are nothing more than my prey, one that is soon to be retired.
I have a lot of good things to say about it. It's really great at dodging his attacks, and plus, like, he just provides a decent challenge to fight. He takes some decent skill to get good at, and I actually died in this fight, like, off screen. I'm leaving that out. But yeah, it's a very fun fight, and his weapon is called the Twin Slasher, which sounds like the title of a 70s horror B-movie. I can't be the only one who thinks that, can I? It really does sound like an old school horror movie title featuring twins who are killers or something like that. But it's a really good weapon, by the way. It's great for dealing rapid-fire damage to enemies in front of you. Not, like, directly in front of you, necessarily, unless they're, like, right next to you. But it's time to get into the first fight with the Colonel as X. So we've cleared 4 stages, it's time for a mid-stage. Sir, it's a message from the Colonel!
X, I'll wait for you at Memorial Hall. Make sure you show up on time.
Sir, this must be a trap. Perhaps, but I won't run this time. Now, technically, Zero actually fights as a Colonel twice as well, but one time is in a cutscene. Colonel, stop this foolishness now!
Never.
Colonel, please, think this over!
The Repler force must be independent. Our battle will determine this.
So X is really the only one to actually fight the Colonel in gameplay. Now, I'm not actually going to be putting up the Colonel's info card here. I'm going to be saving that for the second fight as X, just because it makes more sense to do it that way. Plus that's when we'll be seeing his info card with Zero, so I feel it just makes it more consistent that way. We'll be fighting him again, and the second fight is the more complete fight, so it feels more appropriate to show his info card then. Now let's talk about the fight itself. It's actually really fun. I find his pattern to be very fun to dodge. However, I tend to screw it up sometimes because, you know, I'm just the Armand White of video game difficulty, so when I say this fight is easy, don't believe me. It's probably very hard because, again, you can never trust the Armand White of video game difficulty. Anyway, we're done.
Impressive, but the result won't be the same next time. Until then.
Colonel! And this will have to be the Mississippi King signing out, and in the next episode, we'll get a move on to the final set of Mavericks. We'll take out the remaining ones. See y'all then.